All right. I think with that, we'll go ahead and dive in. First and foremost, thank you to all of you who are joining us today from across the country. My name is Nicole Rieg, and I am a customer success manager here at OpenSpace. And I'm truly honored to be able to be here to host our session today between OpenSpace and our client, DeAngelis Diamond. Today's session is really important and near and dear to my heart. It also marks the 6-month anniversary of Hurricane Ian striking Southwest Florida. And we're excited to share a little bit about the story today, and then also how we're still on the road to recovery, and also how DeAngelis Diamond is playing a major part in that. So in true fashion, just wanted to give a quick agenda of what we'll be covering today. First and foremost, we'll have a quick introduction to the DeAngelis Diamond team and learn a little bit about their partnership to date with OpenSpace. We'll highlight their use of our products with their Margaritaville Resort in Fort Myers, Florida, and how they've been able to use our product for documenting in preparation of Hurricane Ian, and also taking a look back at how they've been able to use the product overall with building back in our community and their project. Take a quick look into insurance, and then also have some time for some Q&A towards the end of our session today. Now I'm joined by some really special individuals. First and foremost, couldn't be more excited to introduce our team from DeAngelis Diamond. So today we're joined by Brett Diamond, who's the Chief Admin Officer from DeAngelis Diamond, as well as Drew Davis, who's a project engineer for DeAngelis Diamond, who's really been spearheading the OpenSpace relationship on the Margaritaville project. And of course, in addition to myself from the OpenSpace team, I'm joined by Michael Williams, who's an analyst here at OpenSpace, who's responsible for new products and services. And we'll all be sharing a little bit about our story today, and are excited to be here with all of you. So of course, I'd love to hear, Brett, can you share a little bit of background information about DeAngelis Diamond and, where we're at today in regards to the partnership?
Absolutely. So first off, thank you, Nicole and Michael, for inviting us for this opportunity. 6-month anniversary, as you just said, which is wild, of Hurricane Ian. And then also thank you, Drew, for really taking OpenSpace, head on with the project out there, controlling that. And so DeAngelis Diamond, who are we? We're a general contractor headquartered in Naples, Florida, which is just south of where Hurricane Ian really had the eye come through, and the project's in Fort Myers, Florida. We have 7 offices across the East Coast of the United States. So you can see them on the map here from Sarasota, Orlando, Birmingham, Nashville, Detroit, and actually going to be opening our 2nd Nashville office by the end of this year. And we're founded in 1996, so about 27 years old, from right here in Naples, Florida. And some quick facts about us. So 27 years old, like I said before, we're licensed in 37 states. We have about 201 people on our team right now. This is a little bit outdated, but 201 people on our team. We build in 16 market sectors. So from multifamily to healthcare to aviation, across the board. We'll do about 400+ million this year in revenue. And then one of the coolest facts I think on this slide is the 2,400 volunteer hours. So how we accomplish that is we give all of our team members 2 additional PTO days that they can just use for volunteering. And this past year with Hurricane Ian, we hit those numbers pretty quickly. So hats off to the team for that. Next slide. And then, what we like to talk about is we build more than just buildings. Tons of companies and tons of GCs build buildings, but we like to instill in our team that we build places where people can vacation, they can travel, they can live, work, play, heal. Early on when I was a child and my dad and John DeAngelis were building the company up, they used to always teach me that we're building people's dreams. We're not just building a building, you're building a place that someone had envisioned but wasn't capable of building, and you're building their dreams and make them become reality. And with OpenSpace, we were able to see that really in full fashion, where you can see the job 360 degrees at any given time. And that's where, our relationship with OpenSpace came in 4 years ago. And, we've launched on 12 projects now, and mostly in our Naples and Sarasota offices, but we'll likely be putting it on our Nashville and Orlando offices here shortly. It's a beautiful product that I'm excited for you all to learn about today and hear from Nicole and Drew on how we're doing that within DeAngelis Diamond.
Yeah, Brett, I just have to say thank you so much. It's been incredible to see the involvement with the entire DeAngelis Diamond team in our community. For those of you who are joining, I'm actually local to the Naples, Fort Myers area where Hurricane Ian hit, as well as Brett and Drew. So this story is really special to all of us, and their team has really been on the forefront of aiding the, the rebuilding of our community. So I think it's a true testament to the amount of hours that your team's already put out there. And if you can go ahead and go to the next slide here. Now, for those of you who are joining who are really not familiar with our product here at OpenSpace, I just wanted to give you a quick high-level overview of who we are and what we do. So overall, OpenSpace is going to be a super simple and efficient way to photo document your job site. Now, there's a few key components to this. First and foremost, there is a wearable 360-degree camera that's going to integrate with a mobile application. The field teams have an opportunity to go out to their projects, utilize this camera with the hands-free method of working to quickly walk their site, which on average can cover about 150 square feet per hour of the project size. After they have an opportunity to get out there, capture the site, AI is going to actually process, organize, and store all of that data that's been collected in a nice, clean, easy to read format that can be accessed from pretty much anywhere. And of course, there's multiple layers to our product. Most frequently, we see used for easy documentation of sites that you can easily go back and revisit over time, which we'll learn a lot more about today. But this helps with not only avoiding rework, but communicating overall with project teams and also their partners across the field. But taking a step back here, Brett, I'd love to hear a little bit, about the why behind the investment in OpenSpace from the DeAngelis Diamond team. What's been important to your partnership and overall that you've found value in using our product?
Yeah, it's a whole session by itself, but one of the big pieces, and hats off to you all for that. It's all good stuff. But prior to OpenSpace, 4+ years ago, we tried other platforms. There's things like Matterport, things that are out there that are just not as fast or efficient or fluid. And it just wasn't getting the job done for us. We wanted something that we could attach to Procore, which we use for all of our project management side of things. And if I look back in the early days, one of the biggest pieces for us was like using it for warranty. So I was working closely with our warranty department on an issue. And I'm like, where are the photos for this job? Like, let's look through photos. And we have photos. We have policies around photos, but they're all like iPad photos and iPhone photos, and they're blurry and they're zoomed in, or you see like half of the problem. And I was like, there has to be something better for this. So that's when I remember we saw you at Groundbreak, or it was just a thing online how we found you. But I'm glad we did, because not just this job actually is a perfect example of why this solution exists. But anything from early on pre-con all the way through warranty phases, we've had the ability to use you all with, and it's been great.
Yeah, thanks for sharing a little bit about your story, Brett. I couldn't agree more. And I'm really excited to also hear a little bit more from Drew, who's really been spearheading the use of OpenSpace on the Margaritaville project. And I think that's why we're all here today. We're eager to hear your story and also understand a little bit more about how OpenSpace has played a major part in the rebuilding of the Margaritaville resort moving forward here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. And thanks everybody for having me today. My name is Drew Davis, and as Nicole mentioned, I'm a project engineer at DeAngelis Diamond. I've been with DD for about 2 years now, and on the Margaritaville project since November of 2021. In the next few slides, I'm going to be covering our day-to-day uses of OpenSpace at DeAngelis Diamond, giving an overview of the Margaritaville project as a whole, discussing the impact of Hurricane Ian, and reviewing the insurance timeline, as well as the OpenSpace uses related to our claims. So starting with our day-to-day uses, you'll see first on the screen here is our general site documentation. So it goes without saying, but we use OpenSpace as a database to reference progress photos from any time period on the job. Second,
Awesome. For a second, looks like that's the good job site internet sometimes out there. Let's see. I can probably jump in while he's frozen. Oh, you there,
He's
Drew?
back.
oh, you guys
There you
hear
are,
me?
Drew.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. You're good.
sorry
good.
about that. Where did I lose?
Another
you?
day on the site.
Go through a pay app review, number 2.
Okay, so pay app review. We take the factual evidence from our pay application reviews. So everything that the subcontractors sent in with their quantities and completion percentages, we review against our open space data to approve or decline those. Third is as a visual aid in our subcontractor and owner meetings. So in every ownership meeting and subcontractor meeting, we pull up our captures. This has become a staple in these meetings, and some of the uses in these meetings include safety, material storage, progress, and job site sequencing. Fourth is as our BIM side-by-side capabilities. So in addition to just the photo referencing in these meetings, we often pull up the BIM side-by-side because it's a great reference when reviewing the field conditions in accordance with the design intent of our BIM model. Fifth is for RFI punch list aid. So we include OpenSpace photos in almost every single RFI we open on the project, which is a great reference. Additionally, in the next few months, as we start our punch list, we will be incorporating field notes from our OpenSpace captures into the punch list. So I'm personally really excited to see how that integration plays out between OpenSpace and our Procore punch list. Sixth and finally is our work in place tracking with ClearSight. So we utilize ClearSight to monitor the installation progress on the job. The Insights tab on OpenSpace shows the average installation rates and the estimated completion dates. And we can take those and compare that to our overall project schedule to give us an idea of which trades or which areas we need to focus our attention on to stay on schedule on the project. And we go to the next slide. So to give a brief overview of the Margaritaville project, our ownership group is TPI Hospitality. They're based out of Minnesota. The architect is Raymaker and Associates, also based out of Minnesota. And then our civil engineer is Morris DePue. Our site presence started officially in August of 2021, and the DeAngelis Diamond construction budget is at around $80 million. The overall project budget for the owner is closer to $150 million when you factor in the property purchase and all of the owner provided goods on the project. The resort features 254 luxury hotel units, 6 restaurants/bars, a 5,000 square foot conference space, and a large state-of-the-art fitness center. We also have a massive interactive pool area on the beach side, a 1 acre second level terrace deck on our resort side, and then a nice beachfront seating area with beach access. Our anticipated completion is now the end of 2023 for this project. So moving into the reason why we're really all here today, the dreaded Hurricane Ian. The week of September 28th, we were all notified that a storm would likely impact the Gulf Coast of Florida. And DeAngelis Diamond, much like many other GCs, has a very specific site safety and preparation plan for hurricanes. So all our typical measures were put in place before the storm. Some of the highlights of our plan included securing all materials and machinery on site. An example of this is all our equipment and materials are either tied down or moved into the building in a secure location or closed room. All our dumpsters were emptied prior to the storm to prevent materials from blowing out. Our work was stopped and our subcontractors and owners were notified in advance. The most key one is our job site was properly photographed the week of the storm. So I personally walked the entire site utilizing the OpenSpace cameras on September 26th, 2 days before the storm. And this has become the most critical capture we've had to date on the project. And I'll talk about that in just a couple of slides. Finally, our precautions and preparation were complete 24 hours before the storm made landfall. So moving to the next slide, Hurricane Ian made landfall on September 28th, 2022 as a Category 4 storm, and recorded wind speeds were over 150 miles an hour in this area. The areas surrounding and including our project site recorded a water level rise of 15 to 20 feet in some areas. And obviously, as most of you know, that impact to the overall Fort Myers Beach area was catastrophic. And we have a video on the next slide that I'd like to just briefly play to really demonstrate that to you guys. So this video was taken just south of our project site. You can actually see our buildings off in the distance, kind of in the back right corner of the screen. This view is showing the Lani Kai Resort to your left. And for reference, those palm trees that you're seeing reach about 15 feet at the top. So this video just shows the water level coming up to that level. And shortly, you'll actually see this building in front of you, the pink one, get lifted off its foundation and pulled away. This was the case all over Fort Myers Beach, houses, buildings. Like I said, it was truly unfathomable we can't really comprehend exactly what happened until after we saw the damage. But yeah, so as you can see, I mean, it's crazy what happened. But this area was directly related within a mile of our project site. So we can move on to the next screen. I'm sure everyone's seen plenty of that.
Positive screen.
Yeah. So focusing back to the impacts mainly on our job site, all the materials and machinery that were stored on the first and second levels were lost due to the water level rise that you guys just saw. We recorded interior damages at all levels due to the wind and salt spray. That means framing, drywall, rough-ins that we had in place all had to be removed and replaced on levels 2 through 4. The pool concession building, which you can see in the bottom middle of the screen here, that light blue building that's barely standing, was an existing cigar hut building that we renovated for this project. That was a complete demo. We had slab damages on the beachside buildings, as well as breakaway wall damages across the entire project. The 4 DeAngelis Diamond's job site trailers that were on site were a total loss. And we actually only found 2 of the job site trailers after the storm. Still have yet to find the remains of the other 2. So due to all of this, the project timeline has been shifted back about approximately 4 months. The hard cost insurance claims are likely going to be in the ballpark of 16-18 million when it's all said and done. Additionally, our owner will have a multi-million-dollar soft cost claim that has yet to be finalized, but these soft costs are mainly going to include the loss of revenue due to the delay in the hotel not being open, but it'll also include the operational personnel wages as well as miscellaneous operating expenses that have been incurred as a result of Hurricane Ian. So I'd now like to focus on the impact OpenSpace has had on the insurance claims process, specifically as we walk through this timeline. So on September 26th, as I previously mentioned, I walked the entire site to capture all areas 2 days prior to the storm. On September 28th, 2022, storm hits. Immediately after the following week, we had personnel on site to walk through a plan of how we were going to move forward with the owner. On October 11th, our site presence was officially restored when we started our restoration work. And on October 12th, I recorded the site again utilizing OpenSpace. So this capture paired with my September 26th capture have been the 2 most utilized forms of documentation during the entire claims process. In mid-October, our claims process officially began, and the insurance team did have a site presence during our restoration work. The first official sit down with all parties was held several weeks after the restoration work started. This included DeAngelis Diamond, TPI, Raymaker, and adjusters from the insurance teams. From this meeting forward, we have used OpenSpace captures in a variety of ways directly related to insurance. So to highlight those uses, first and foremost, it's been used to compile documentation for RFIs that have been requested by the insurance adjuster teams. Second, it's been used to show and highlight the material and machinery that was stored on site. Not only showing the materials where they were stored by level, but showing specific rooms that they were stored in the project. That's been a invaluable piece of information for us. Third is it has been used as backup of the timeline of when these specific materials and machines were brought to the site. So it's extremely useful for us to proved that some of these materials have been there for weeks or months prior to the storm, and we can pinpoint almost to the exact date of when they arrived because of this backup. Fourth, it has been used as backup to our pre and post-storm schedules. And this is important because it shows that we were on track and progressing per our schedule before the storm, as well as our post-storm schedule afterwards. It shows that we were staying on track with our restoration and rebuilding work. We've pulled this documentation up in every single meeting since the storm, and our insurance meetings have been held about every 3 to 4 weeks. Our first 4 were held on site in the DeAngelis Diamond construction trailers. But because of the confidence we've been able to build with this backup, mainly through OpenSpace, the insurance adjuster teams since those first 4 have been able to join remotely. And this is huge because we've got 15 to 20 people in all these meetings that are coming from all over the country. And because we've been able to build this confidence with them, they're allowed to join remotely, just saving all teams involved money and time and effort. Additionally, our claims process has been handled monthly through insurance-specific pay applications. When reviewing these pay applications, the adjusters have often asked questions about where the material was stored or when it arrived on site. And having OpenSpace at the ready allows us to pull the photo evidence up in real time during the meeting and pinpoint if a specific item is pertaining to flood, if it's pertaining to wind, and we can process a specific claim in a matter of minutes by pulling up the photos in the meetings. It just expedites the process in a way I can only hope that we have in the future. As most of you know, it can take a significant amount of time to get paid from an insurance claim. But in this particular case, in order to keep our subcontractors on site after the storm, it's been critical that we keep them paid in a timely manner. So having a software like OpenSpace to help process these claims quicker has made a major difference in getting our owners paid quickly, which in turn has allowed us to pay our subcontractors quickly. So shifting our focus back to the timeline here, on January 20th, 2023, TPI officially celebrated their topping out event, which signified to the entire Fort Myers Beach community that our project was back on track and the beach was finally moving in the right direction. Our project since the storm has been a beacon of hope to not only the Fort Myers Beach community, but the entire Southwest Florida community. I'm sure you've all seen pictures of the beach and our project specifically on the news since the storm. And I can't emphasize enough how much this project has meant for the morale of the overall beach. OpenSpace has given us so many opportunities to expedite this process, which in turn has expedited our rebuilding and helped the community move forward. So where are we now? I can proudly say that we have tons of activity and progress on the overall project. Structurally, we're finishing our second level terrace deck on the resort side. And on the beach side, we're rebuilding our pool concession building. We've begun interior finishes on the 4th level and continue to work through the building with interior finishes. On the exterior, we have paint, stucco, miscellaneous exterior finishes working their way around the building, and it's really starting to bring the project to life, as you can see in the picture. Additionally, in the picture, you can see our pool area is starting to take shape, which is just over halfway done now, and that's a huge milestone for us on the project. We're still working to finalize the hard cost insurance claims, but our goal is to have the hard costs finalized in the next quarter, hopefully in May or June of this year. And our goal is to have the resort open and complete in Q4 of this year. Hopefully by December, the resort will be operational. And finally, at the end of the project, we aim to turn all the data and OpenSpace captures we've compiled over to TPI for their operations, maintenance, and management team to use when the project opens up. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Nicole and the OpenSpace team.
Yeah, thanks so much, Drew. I just have chills rewatching the video of the water level rising on the beach, and also just to get some insight into the progress that you and your team have had so far on the project. And you said it best. You truly have been a beacon of hope for the rebuilding of our community. And I think all of us can truly to attest that this is just the beginning, and what this is going to have in reaction to our community and also the tourism that we drive here is, it's just going to be are absolutely earth-shattering. So thank you so much for sharing a bit about your story, and also giving us some insight into how you've been able to use OpenSpace, especially with insurance. Now, we do have another guest on the line today, and Michael, I know you're always working on something interesting and have been cooking a lot in the insurance space. So I'm really excited to hear from your perspective, your thoughts on insurance, and just kind of related to this whole idea of the recovery of Hurricane Ian and how others might be able to think about this in terms of insurance.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole, and thanks everyone for joining. That's a pretty tough act to follow. I mean, if you want to understand the benefit of OpenSpace with insurance, I mean, I don't really need to tell you too much. Drew just kind of laid out a lot of the benefit. But yeah, I'm here at OpenSpace. I work on the strategy team and work on new products and services and figure out new ways in which OpenSpace can be valuable to customers, our existing customers, and other industries. For the past year and a half, that's mainly been focused on the risk and insurance space. So that involves working with insurance companies to educate and partner with them, and then also helping our customers understand that OpenSpace can be used in the ways in which Drew and the DeAngelis Diamond team were able to use OpenSpace and benefit from it from an insurance perspective. But insurance can be pretty nuanced and technical, so I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on insurance. So I'd really just like to talk about some key ways in which OpenSpace can reduce risk. And really all insurance is a transfer of risk. So if you can reduce risk yourself, then you're likely benefiting other stakeholders on the insurance side. So I won't go too much into improving claims processing and that experience because Drew gave you the best social proof possible. But I think it's important to note that this can be, improved claims can happen both on the construction phase and also in completed ops. If you think of the risk of construction defect once the building has been completed, this is an invaluable data set and photo documentation resource to have to go back and process claims and validate or invalidate claims throughout the life cycle of the asset that's being built. It expedites and speeds up the process, which and ideally leads to fewer disputes. And for a lot of you, the exciting kind of carry-on of fewer disputes is probably lower litigation costs or ideally no litigation costs, and then increased dollar value paid out in claims. Another huge area where OpenSpace reduces risk is it just makes the overall job site faster. You heard Brett and Drew talk a little bit about the ways in which they use OpenSpace, and being able to use field notes for those RFIs gives a better communication to a lot of different stakeholders. So you can use field notes and markup images to better collaborate with other stakeholders, but also highlight and action safety risks on the job site. So just some examples, if there's missing toe boards or improper railing or pooled water in having electrical wires on the job site, or just some overall job site cleanliness, it's a really easy way to be able to document, send those actions out to the team and make sure that they're followed up on. And then lastly, and Drew talked about this a bit with the way that they are using pay applications to validate work in progress, it accelerates project delivery. So you can monitor trades progress, and if they're off track, get them back on track faster, avoid liquidated damages and other delay costs, and ultimately projects that are behind schedule lead to more safety risks. So being able to stay on schedule or even ahead of schedule reduces risk significantly on a project, and all of these are now starting to be recognized by the insurance industry to provide additional value to our customers for their investment in OpenSpace.
Thank you so much for sharing a bit about that, Michael. And I think with that, it's really interesting just to see some of these images continue to come together from the DeAngelis team, with the experience of Hurricane Ian. But I think with that, it's time to open the floor for some questions. But before we jump into some of those from the audience that's here today, Drew, I've got to ask you and kind of put you on the spot here. What do you touched on a lot of the different features and functionality a little bit earlier on in the presentation with how you've been able to use the BIM compare, some split view, field notes, the Procore integration that we have in place for RFIs and observations. What's been your favorite feature and functionality that you've used to date with OpenSpace as it comes to, the field office?
Yeah, to be honest, the one I probably use most frequently is that BIM side by side with the captures that we've been able to take. Because in all these meetings, a site condition comes up and we pull up the side by side. We have the most up-to-date capture, which is usually within a couple of days because we do captures weekly, right up against the BIM model. It allows us to answer questions quickly from the design team and or the ownership team. So that's probably been my most utilized, and also it's great for reference in the field as well to be able to pull that up quickly and know exactly what a component of the building is supposed to look like or the intent was versus what we have in place.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Drew. We have actually a flurry of questions that have come in as well. So next up is a question from Joe. He's curious if the capture on September 26th was planned activity for the DD team or something that you took the initiative to do on your own, Drew. I know being a local Floridian, one of the first things that I did for my clients was send out an email blast to all of the local projects. You know, as a Floridian, the hairs on your arms start to stand up and you just know something's about to happen right before. So had recommended to the teams to get out there and take some captures. But Drew, my understanding is you all have a pretty robust structure in place in terms of your capture activity. But can you share a little bit, about if, this was planned for your team overall or something that was part of your hurricane prep?
Yeah, of course. So I actually do remember the email that you sent out the week of. So I'm sure that was useful to a lot of people. Our captures, like I said, we do them weekly. Typically, I capture on Wednesday and Thursday every single week. Obviously, with this storm coming in on Thursday, we knew we had to expedite that a little bit. So I did everything on Tuesday. It was more prompted by we have to document the site prior to the storm. So when our team was getting together and figuring out how we were going to do this, instead of going and taking pictures as you would do in the old days on your phone, I was just like, well, we've got the perfect capability here, and we did it with OpenSpace. And like I said, that particular capture has saved us so much time and effort and energy, particularly all of them leading up to and after the storm, but mainly that one on the 26th. It's saved us on multiple occasions.
I love that, Drew. And I think that leads into the next question pretty well, not to continue to put you on the spot here. But in regards to time, I know your team has saved a significant amount of time by using OpenSpace, but do you have any insight on if the insurance team has been able to quantify the amount of time savings or even reimbursements due to OpenSpace documentation?
Yeah, it monetarily, it's hard to quantify in terms of dollars, but in terms of time saving, particularly being able to pull these images up in our meetings with the insurance team allows us to, like I said, process claims on the spot. So if they have a question that comes up and we're having a meeting that week, they bring it up and we pull up the photo documentation of whatever they're referring to. And they're like, good, okay, we're good with that particular item. Additionally, them not having to travel to the site every time they have a question or every time they need images of something, we can shoot it over to them in 5-10 minutes. I know that is saving them not only time, but just travel and per diem of their teams coming over here every other week. I mean, instead of having them on site every week, they haven't been on site in several weeks or months because of this. So it's definitely saved them tons of time and energy as well.
Who doesn't like to save time and money, of course, but count me in. Next question, I think this is a good one for you, Brett. Are you planning on doing a time-lapse video for TMI?
Yeah, so there's numerous ways we could provide more documentation. We do have Oxblue out there that does time lapses for us. It's actually all public. If you go on our website, you can see it at the footer or under the webcam section. But I can remember it'll be a 2 time lapses, basically post or pre and post storm, because we lost the cameras during the storm. So I remember that was the last thing I was doing before I lost signal at my house, was checking on the project sites that I could see from remote. And I remember seeing, the Ox Blue camera on Margaritaville as the water was coming in right before we lost, everything out there. But as far as cameras go, but so yeah, it'll be available for them. We'll turn it over to them at the end of the job as well. But they can see it now currently too. So
Thanks, Brett. Michael, I have a really good question for you, especially since you've been spending a lot of time in the insurance space. What are your thoughts, and do you feel, companies, are they able to get reduced premiums if they have this sort of documentation with OpenSpace?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's the worst response is it depends, but that is true. I mean, when it comes to a large scale commercial construction insurance policy, there's so many variables that go into account in pricing a premium. But kind of the response in some of our newer partnerships and seeing the insurance industry more receptive to technology that they know reduces risk on projects, there are certain cases where premium may be reduced, or there may be underwriting credits, or there's direct dollar savings for the use of technology. But there's so many other ways in which this reduces costs from an insurance perspective. It could increase deductible, or it could give even an insurance broker more leverage to go and negotiate on a customer's behalf to get better pricing. But then in all the ways that Drew talked about, of cost savings, of reducing time and man hours needed to just process a claim, there's a lot of carry-on discounts. And so you can never guarantee that there's going to be premium reduction, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, that's really interesting insight. Be curious to see how this continues to play out more just across the industry, and also use of 360 photo documentation as well. I think we have a little bit more time, so we'll go ahead and have one last question here. Either Brett or Drew, really curious, did your owners require the use of reality capture documentation, or is this something that you all typically do as an organization?
Yeah, maybe Drew can speak to the contract. I'm not sure if it's in the contract, but we do present it in all of our Naples and Sarasota presentations. So when we're going to try to win a project, we have this. Our marketing team displays this in all of our presentations to the client, so they know that it is an option on their job if they want to. So we're hoping, as we go forward, it's included. So we're going to keep doing it no matter what the client, begs for it or not, but it's a service that we're going to be offering. But I'm not sure if it was in this contract or not, if you know that, Drew.
Yeah, to jump in on that further, it doesn't call for OpenSpace type photos in particular. It does require photo documentation through aerials and your traditional periodic photos of the job site, but OpenSpace is definitely above and beyond what they're expecting. But as Brett said, I could see it becoming more of a standard, especially for us. We're going to do it regardless. But as people start to see how valuable it is, I could see it becoming more standard language within the contracts.
For sure.
You bring up a good point there, Drew. And Brett, I'm curious from your perspective, how has the use of OpenSpace, changed the kind of future processes? And even, are you more apt to use OpenSpace on future projects from here?
Yes. Yeah. I know Drew wants to use it on his next job, wherever he's going next. So I'll say yes for that, but absolutely. So it's probably going to go into our SOPs, on how we structure our future job processes. And, I've done other job sites, we have one downtown Naples called AC Marriott, where they, I was talking to one of the field engineers, and he's like, I can't do my next job without this. He's new in the industry, so this is all he's ever known. And he's like, man, how did they do this with phones and iPads before, or whatever it might be. So I'm like, yeah, we might have to require this to be standard. So especially for this new generation. But yeah, it'll be definitely changing the SOPs and how we as a GC do our future documentation.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And another great team, of course, down at the AC Marriott project, who have been heavily utilizing OpenSpace. Quick plug here before we wrap things up. I believe you all are hosting a networking event of some sort over at the Margaritaville project here coming up, aren't you?
Yes, Friday at 3:30, I think it is.
Yeah, I think there's it's Friday at 3:30. It's hosted by ULI. I think there's only about 5 spots left that you can register for. I think we capped it at like 30 people, and we have about 25 committed already. But We'll be walking the building, doing a quick tour, and then next door there'll be like a little happy hour food and beverage type deal after as well at the
Yeah,
Lighthouse Resort.
It'd be pretty sweet. If you're in that area, it's a good thing to see, I think, especially if you're local, you'll appreciate that.
Yeah, if you're local, make sure you sign up for that. I think it's pretty incredible to see some activity happening again at Fort Myers Beach, and guests starting to come in. So check it out. Make sure you register. And if anything, I just want to say thank you all again for joining today. Brett and Drew, it's an absolute pleasure to partner with all of you. It's incredible to hear your story and to see all that you're doing for our community. So looking forward to seeing how things continue to progress. And if there are any questions that we didn't get to today, we'll make sure that we reach out to you on an individual basis to get those answered. But, of course, welcome you all to reach out at any point in time, and look forward to partnering with you all as well for using OpenSpace on your future projects.
So thank you all. Thank you, Nicole and Michael. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks,
Thanks for
everybody.
being here, everyone.